Okay, in order to pass the English 10 ECA, we have to get multiple choice questions correct. And the multiple choice questions are the hardest ones for us to get right. We're going to probably do well on the RATS questions where we're going to restate, answer, tie to the text, and then summarize. But the most difficult questions have always been the multiple choice ones. So I want to go over the 5 major types of questions that we have. First and foremost, the first type of question is what is called a step back general question. In other words, the key words in the actual question will say the main idea or the central idea or the overall purpose or overall tone, or it'll just say overall the point of this essay is to do blah, blah, blah. Keys to success on answering these types of questions is to step back and think about the work as a whole, not as one little part of it. Don't get tricked, because what they will do on these types of questions is they will include 4 answers that are from the text, but only one of them is based on a general idea and the other 3 are specific to a particular part on the text. Second thing is if you want to be successful on this type of question, you have to know what the main idea is, whatever that happens to be, and you've got to be able to match with the main idea with whatever is the best answer at that moment in time. The problem is that there will be 2 believable answers in the answer bank, and they're going to be the ones that you have to narrow it down to, and you've got to make a choice. Good example of this, then, are the questions that were on a test that I administered with my English 10 class today over an essay called From Longitude, right here. If you look, the key word of the question says, which answer choice best states the main idea of the story? Now, main idea tells me automatically that the question isn't about a specific thing inside of the essay that we read. It means that you got to step back and go, okay, I read that whole thing. What is in general that essay about? And what kind of messes up students is they'll look and they'll go, well, this happened in the story, so it must be true. No, that's not the case. That is not why you should answer that. I look at this. Ptolemy was one of the first. That happens in the text, but it's not the main idea. I look at this. Early navigators struggled with the problem of finding an accurate way to determine longitude at sea. If I step back from the essay that they actually read today, that's what the entire essay is about. Now, this happened in the reading. A, B, and D all happened in what we read today. But the best one is when we have to step away from it. The best answer was C. Now, that means you got to have read something, and when they come to words like main idea or overall purpose, the answer isn't going to be one of these little things inside of the text. It's going to be something that's a big idea inside of the text. So I look at question 2. Which detail from the text best supports the main idea? Once again, main idea isn't necessarily one little thing in the text. It is like when you step back from the text as a whole thing, then you can make that judgment call as to what the main idea was. From Longitude, yes. So you're reading it as Miss Spall's class. Yep. So there you go. So then we continue with then the next genre of question, which is the questions that include part of the text. The correct answer is a conclusion or an inference beyond the text, or something that you have to comprehend, or it can be the opposite of that, where the question will include an inference or a logical conclusion, and then the answers will be stuff from inside of the text. Now, I suggest the following technique when you see this style of question. Read the questions first before you read the article and highlight those quotes, or if they say in line 20, blah, 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 before you even read the essay, as soon as you see the question and it says in line 20, go on the ECA to line 20 of that thing and highlight it, because you know there's going to be a question on it. Second technique that I recommend then is when you actually decide to answer that question, as you're reading the text, make sure you read and review everything that was before that little part. So if they ask you to highlight line 20, you better read line 17, 18, 19, and 20, and 21, 22, 23, 24. Make sure that you read everything that's in front of it, itself, and after it. And one of the techniques then is you have to know there's going to be at least two believable answers. You've got to choose the best between them. And here are some examples of those particular types of questions at work. You guys saw this question in the last couple of days when we were reading the Simplexity article. In the first paragraph, Kluger explains that a mass movement of people is effective. Now, that's the premise that's not in the text. That's the one where they said it was this way. And then you had to figure out which one of these was actually in paragraph 1. So your technique is you better read paragraph 1, and then based upon these answers, whichever one matches that the best is going to be the best answer. And as it turned out, then the correct answer for this one was a complex interplay of factors. So then we look at number 5. In the excerpt from Longitude, Sobel states that blah, 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 blah. Once again, here's the argument, okay? What conclusion is this? So these all were things that came from the text. Which one of these is the inference that wasn't necessarily stated in the text, but is the correct one that matches up with that stuff in the text? And when you're looking at this one, the best answer based upon the previous evidence is A, okay? Because even though this happens in the text, it's not for that premise. Even though this happens in the text, it doesn't match with that conclusion. This happens in the text, but it doesn't match that conclusion. So even though these are details, the one that matches whatever's in the question is the one that you have to pick to get to the correct answer. Which then takes us to the next style of question that will be on the ECA. Question that includes parts of the text, and then the correct answer is in the text. So these are like parts that both have text and text. So what will happen is they will actually have a question that says, here is blah, 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 blah from the text. And in this case, they're saying, here's an argument that was in the text. Then what they ask you then is, which one of these is the evidence that is used to support that? Okay? And so the bottom line is then, the text in lines 10 through 12 was used to support, I'm sorry, we got it backwards. This is the argument, is one of these. This is the evidence. But once again, this was used to support which one of these things? Well, which one would have been the topic sentence of the paragraph? A. Hands down. So, long story short, you've got to be able to see cause, effect, or argument relationship in order to get this style of questions correct, where it includes part of the text, but which one was used to support that part of the text, or vice versa. Which one was the support? Tell me which one is the argument. Which brings us to the fourth style of multiple choice question that screws us over. Questions include text or refer to text, but the answer is a literary or nonfiction term. And as you guys know, by next week, I am going to print out a list of all of the nonfiction terms and examples of them so that you have something to refer to. But the other flip of the coin is sometimes the question includes the lit term, and then you've got to pick A, B, C, D examples of text that were in there that actually match up with the term. My suggestion, review and reread that section of the text and highlight it ahead of time. Always preview your questions before reading the actual essay. Because if you do that, that'll tell you, highlight line 7, highlight paragraph 3, highlight paragraph 8. You know ahead of time that at least out of 9 questions, 5 of them are going to say in line blah, 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 or in paragraph blah, blah, blah. Always preview and highlight ahead of time. Second, you have to understand the passage in question. If you read a paragraph and you have no idea what's going on in that paragraph, you're hit. But now, let's say you do understand what happened in that line or that paragraph. Here's why these things are worth a lot of points. If you don't know the literary or nonfiction term, you're guessing. So if you see questions like this, in paragraph that starts on line 58, the female-male range can best be described as, we learned yesterday it's personification. And this one we were lucky. You don't even have to have read the excerpt to figure that out. Rain is being compared to what? Males and females, which is automatically people. So by definition, that's personification. But if you don't know what personification is, you stand no shot on that question, and it's a guesswork. Now, if you don't know an answer at all, you should still guess on the ECA. You are not penalized for guessing. Make sure you finish it. That's a big deal. Yeah, guessing wrong. You can pass me. Because there's some people got their ECA scores back, and Mr. Bailey was like, you must have gotten lucky. So anyway, then number 4, like the paragraph which begins in line 50. What would you highlight then and there if you saw that question on the ECA? Yeah, you should go highlight line 50 before you even read the article. Look at the questions. I should highlight line 50. So, but once you read this, so then the next step, so step 1 is highlight. Step 2, after you've read it, you got to read it and reread it. Step 3 then is you got to know these. And this is from the test that we took yesterday. And there was a comparison of 2 unlike things using the magic words like. So that is a metaphor or a simile? Simile. And when it's a real long one, it's an extended one. A simile can be 1 sentence long, but an extended simile is like an entire paragraph where they illustrate the point.
Callie Brissantine, please call your mom or dad. Callie Brissantine.
And that's going to be in the video.
Mom or dad.
Callie, make sure that you call your mom or dad. This is going to be on YouTube. All right, so here we go. Number 7 then. The paragraph which begins on line 35. What should you highlight then and there? Line 35. You know there's a test question on it. Then second, you got to read it. And then third, you have to know what those things are. And if you don't know what those things are, it's guesswork. Which now leaves us with the one that is going to drive most of the people in this room crazy. Especially if English is a second language for you. These types of questions where there is a sentence and 1 word is underlined, and they go, which of the following is the best definition of that word? Now, here's the keys to success on these questions. And there will be at least 3 of these questions on the ECA. Sometimes there's 4. Like I've seen it, like last year there was one where there was a long reading passage, and they put 2 of these kinds of questions with 1 passage. And one of the words kids had a shot at because they should have known it. And then the other one, I was like, oh, I know what that means. But I challenged Mitch Daniels to know what that means, okay? So, first thing is, hopefully you know what the word means. This is why when you go into the ECA and you have an 1100 Lexile or higher, you're in good shape to pass it just because you know the words. If you don't have an 1100 Lexile or higher, that's going to be an issue. So, hopefully you know the word ahead of time. If you know the word ahead of time, that will automatically allow you to reduce the number of answers to 2. And from there, then, you don't necessarily pick the definition that's in the dictionary. Pick the one that's based on how it's used then and there. Case in point. Most of us know that noise refers to sound. But that's not what it means here for that particular question 3. Noise is not sound in that article. Noise was not water flowing around a pileup. It wasn't sound. Rather, it was a metaphor for an element that disrupts movement. So those are the 5 major genres of questions on the ECA. Any questions? Good. All right.